Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Witches and Wine. It's been a long time.
It has been a very long time.
I almost kind of forgot what I was doing there for a sec. This is the show where we talk about witchy stuff and we drink wine. Everybody clink and drink, even with our guest. Awesome. Ooh, I like that glass. See, I like to taste it the first time on the camera because it's an authentic reaction. This is great.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll be talking about this wine in a minute. All right. And so I am your hostess with the mostest, Lola Stardust. And this is my partner in crime,
Silent as Stardust.
And we are the High Priest and High Priestess of Children of the Crossroads in Spokane, Washington. And yeah, we were on a little hiatus. We changed our whole eating regiment. We've released some weight. I don't know if you look back at some of the old videos of us, we've shrunk a little. I'm shrinking. Bummer. So before we get started, I'd like to do a disclaimer. Sometimes on this show, we get a little tipsy because, you know, it is wine is in the title. And sometimes people get a little offended by some of the things that I might say or do or act. And again, it's called Witches and Wine for a reason. So we have this wonderful thing you can do if you don't want to watch us. You're like, I don't like my witches having fun with wine. There's this X in the corner that you can click and you don't have to see us anymore.
Yeah.
It's like magic.
It is like magic. You have power and control.
Yes, you do. So without further ado, let's go ahead and turn this over to Silenus, our wine connoisseur. He's going to tell us about this amazing wine that we're drinking, and then we'll get to our amazing guest.
Hi, everyone. Well, welcome back. We've missed you all. We're happy to do this. So tonight, we have gone to a red Burgundy. This is Domaine de la Bressande, Mercurey. This is a 2017 vintage. Excellent red Burgundy. It's going to be light, very, very elegant, soft on the palate with nice cherry notes, a little bit of earthiness, and just really round and plush. It's just a great wine for universal drinking. Slightly dry, and it's going to pair with just about any food out there. So a very, very versatile wine. It's going to cost you a decent amount. It's going to run you about $40 to $50 a bottle.
We're highfalutin,
but well worth it. And we want to bring out a good bottle because, you know, we've been on hiatus, so we wanted to welcome everyone back properly. And our guest tonight has some minerality capabilities. And so I figured a wine with some minerality would be appropriate for them.
I was like, so we're having Solinox, and I know we're going to end up talking about crystals. I mean, like, look at what is behind her right now. Crystals and stuff and things. I'm like, what's a good wine to go with that? And he's like, well, we need an earthy wine. So
yep,
it's earthy, it's mineral, it's good. Clink and drink.
Clink and drink.
There's a lot of clinking and drinking in this show. Well, thank you, honey.
You're
and
welcome.
I love the little, we're so excited. We're using this new
technology
platform. The little banner on the bottom to tell you what the wine is. I'm very excited. All right, let's get to our guest.
Flip over comments as well.
Yep. Thank you. All right. So our guest today is someone that I have known for quite some time. We've been in a few classes together at the Wiccan Seminary. We just kind of have been revolving around the same people. And I remember she said that she would love to be a guest on the show, and we were going to have her. And then we had to remove wine from our eating habits just temporarily. And I was like, we can't do witches and wine without wine. And so I wanted to make sure that we honored that commitment and let her be our first guest back after hiatus. So it's very exciting. I'd like to introduce to you, and you're Lord Solinox Silver Star? Is that the full? Lord Solinox Silver Star. Welcome to the show. And before you do your intro, can you tell us what wine that you're sipping today?
No,
I put you on the spot. You don't need to be as fancy as him.
I'm not a big wine drinker because my husband is a brewer, and so usually I'm drinking his beer.
Makes sense.
But I pulled this out. It's an apple wine that I picked up. Oh, let me get the camera orientation right.
Yeah, there you go.
At Mercurey Caverns in Virginia, and it's at least 5 or 6 years old. I think 6 years old. So I was a little concerned when I opened it, but it is still very good.
Good.
And it's got about 10%, it says, and it definitely has the flavor of apples and the grapes, and it's sweet, and that'll work.
Good. Awesome.
It's
I'm glad
alcoholic, it's wine.
I'm glued. I'm glued and glad that you're enjoying the wine with us. So please tell us about yourself. Who are you? What are your titles? What do you do? Tell us the intro
What do I
stuff.
do? Run around like a chicken with my head cut off most of the time.
We knew that.
I'm Lord Solinox, Silver Star. I am the High Priestx here, like you said, of Weavers of the Web-ATC. I'm a 3rd degree Priestx in the Wise-ATC tradition. I was trained by Phoenix Silver Star, Lady Phoenix, I should say. I started Weavers of the Web in 2018. I am also a graduate and teacher at the Wolstenstein Theological Seminary that Lily graduated from. And I also run this shop here, Keys to Manifestation.
Mm-hmm. I better put that banner on the bottom because I'm loving the this little tech stuff. If you're interested in the her store, you've got the website down there, and I forgot that you're teaching. What classes are you teaching at the school?
I teach a couple of the senior core classes. So I teach senior rituals class, putting on the Sabbats and elemental invocations. And then I also teach Introduction to Norse Mythology at least once a year.
Yeah.
I also have the Pagan Family elective. I forget what the full title is, but it hasn't run yet. We tried to run it earlier this year, but nobody took us up on it. So
yeah, that's the thing is sometimes these newer classes you got to get enough people to sign up, and I always say it'll happen when it's meant to happen, and
Yep.
but I like that you are doing the Sabbats because that's kind of where me and Solinox really ended up working together a lot. Interesting story. Solinox, you had left for a while, right? In your was it your junior year at the school?
No, it was my senior year. My husband had a brain tumor.
That's right.
And so he got that. So we didn't graduate until after 2018. So I did already have Weavers running. We were talking about this before we started. I did already have Weavers running when we were in class together.
Yeah.
But I got through like half of 2017. And as we started getting closer to that second brain surgery, my husband was not coping well. And I just had to pull out. I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So then I came back the following summer. And as it turns out, when I left, it was just me and one other student.
Yeah.
And poor thing, she had to finish on her own.
Yep.
When I came back, it was because you were on your own because your classmates had all left. And the teacher was like, "Can you please come help her? She's all by herself."
Yes, she was. I remember her having to do everything. So I was very grateful when you came on board again to take at least half of the stuff off of her plate.
Well, let me tell you though, that's how we kind of learn, even with just the two of us, that's a lot of responsibility. And I think it was really good training for us as high priestesses and priestesses, because I feel that it really taught us we did everything. Mm-hmm. And when you are running a coven, a lot of times you end up doing everything, especially if you don't have enough coven members, when you first start the coven out, when you're trying to elevate people. It's kind of left on us to be like, okay, I got to organize, I got to advertise, I got to plan, I got to, and I tell people I learned all that a lot from senior year, being alone the first part and then having you, which was a wonderful addition, but it was still a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when we really got to know each other and our styles and we are very two different people, how we work with our styles. I remember when we talked to Cara at the end and was like, what was some of your challenges? What were the things you did? And both of us brought it up, and in true love and, perfect love and perfect trust. I remember I was like, we were so honest and open. It's not like we said, well, we didn't like each other. We had two completely different styles of how we worked together. And we both said it just took a little time to get used to that. But again, that's You got to learn that.
That's part of life. You got to learn how to deal with all sorts of people and all different types, because not everyone is going to fit in your style, and you have to learn how to adapt and bring and allow all and work with all.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was really cool that we both touched upon that, and it made me respect you more, because I was like, we're just being honest, saying, yeah, I had to get used to your working style. Doesn't mean we don't like each other. It just means we have different styles. But I think that's so important. I want to ask you about your experiences with starting your coven, like when you decided to start Weavers of the Web, and what did you have the vision already how you wanted to? Was this kind of brewing in your mind for a few years? Like, how did that happen? I love to hear when people, because like I said, we've been just by a couple years off, we've been running our covens around the same amount of time. So we're still,
we're established, but we're still not necessarily an old timer.
We're not an old time coven, but we're very established in what we do. I'm talking about your coven and our coven. So yeah, how did that come to be, Weavers of the Web?
It's kind of all tied up in how I found Wicca in the first place, because I grew up in Texas and going to Baptist and Presbyterian churches, and church was life. It was where all your social events revolved around. Your scout group might be based out of it. You had youth group activities. You went there every Sunday. If you're Baptist, you go on Wednesdays too. There's picnics and vacation Bible school and, all of the stuff, right? And when I found Wicca, I found the one thing that I wasn't getting from the Christian churches, which was that truth in my heart.
Yeah.
But I lost all that fellowship.
How long ago was that?
That over 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so
1991 when I first discovered Wicca. And I always wanted to, I always missed that. I always missed that fellowship, and wanted to recreate it. And I tried miserably for a long time. I call myself an involuntary solitary because I never wanted to be a solitary, but I could never seem to find a group. And so when I found out about the ATC and first joined an ATC affiliated group, it was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been trying to do or find or what have you.
Now, was that in Texas?
No, it was up here.
And where is up here?
I'm in Michigan now, yeah.
Okay.
Michigan, yep.
Lansing area. And there was a group up here for about 5 years. I think they lasted. That was ATC adjacent, ATC affiliated. And I worked with them and then ended up finding my way into the seminary. And when I parted ways with that group, the seminary family, the ATC family, was there to pick me up. It was actually kind of funny because back then we had upperclassmen doing mentorships of the lowerclassmen in the seminary, and Phoenix was my mentor. She hadn't even graduated yet.
Yeah.
And Bella and Dusty had come out here to Michigan for Pagan Fest and brought Phoenix with them, and they elevated her. And then we're talking about it, and I'm crying my heart out. And Bella looks at Phoenix and says, "Well, you need a student.
Yep.
You want a student? Here, so should it be Phoenix's student? And so then we're going out, and it was downpouring that whole weekend that year. Everything was flooded. We had to move tent campers inside and stuff. And so we go to do our dedication out in front of the gods and everybody around the public fire pit at Pagan Fest. Walking around, squelch, 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 squelch. Squelch, squelch, squelch. Okay.
Such as pagan life north of the Mason-Dixon line. Sometimes you got to squish through your rituals.
You got to squish through.
But yeah, and then I started, I guess I started Weavers before I graduated. The time between when I parted ways from that coven church and when I started Weavers was just super lonely. I missed that fellowship. I missed being able to be around other people and my family. I have 6 kids. And that was part of their lives was, going from Sabbath to Sabbath and the parties and the feasting and the socialization and stuff. and we weren't getting any of that. So I grabbed hold of an opportunity to get started, and it started out a little slow and had some fits and starts, but we've been going steady ever since.
And
Yeah.
how many do you have in your group now?
Well, it depends on how you measure it. I have right now I have 7 dedicants.
Okay.
And possibly going to be getting some more. One of my kids just signed back up for seminary, so she might be coming on board.
Cool.
And then we have probably anywhere from 15 to 25 in our core group of regulars.
Okay.
We have 20 patrons. Some of those are my students. We've got a little over 200 on our mailing list, and we regularly get 15 to 25 people at our Wednesday night meetings, and 20 to 40 at our Sabbats.
Oh,
Amazing.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Coven
How
goals.
many members? It's hard to measure that when you're a public.
Yeah, because you have the inner court, outer court, and then the general community.
Yeah. And that's what we're working on in our community with our coven. Is we have the coven, and then we do have what we would call the outer court, and then we have the people that we work with all the time in the community, other groups and we call those people like our friends and family of the coven,
the cousins.
The cousins or so that's, and we're trying to really establish, like, because we have a very small house, and so we cannot have the magical number of 13 in a coven. I came from a coven that had 13, but they had a lot of space.
Mm-hmm.
And I always know that's kind of the cool number to have. And it's like, yeah, our living room will hold what?
If we did 13, we'd be all on top of each other in some way, shape, or form.
We now, what's really cool is we have a nice backyard, and so we can spread out in the backyard. But we live in Spokane, Washington, where it's gonna start getting cold, and so we actually have some coven members that have offered their house, which has more space, during the colder months.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to help out a lot. So we can expand, but right now, how many do we have in our actual?
We have 6 in our group.
We have 6 in our coven, and then we have about 15
in the outer
group that are either interested in joining, but maybe not, but want to help. They're kind of peeking in, like, I'm interested, but I want to be involved. So we're working on that. We're working on establishing that. So I like to hear that when other covens are doing that, because it validates what I'm trying to work on.
Well, and how did you guys manage pandemic?
Well, the pandemic was interesting because I want to back up a little bit and talk about space for a second, because having space has been an ongoing project for us, and it's something that I was set on when I opened Weavers, is that we will not meet in the house.
Okay.
My previous church / coven had done that for a large chunk of their existence, and I had a lot of discussions with that high priest and priestess about the issues that come with having public events in your house, and things that you wouldn't think people would do, but when you let the public in, anything can happen, and medicine cabinets to all kinds of stuff going missing and things like that. And so I never wanted to do it out of my house. And even when members of our broader church and coven are like, hey, we could use my backyard, or we could use this, and I have to tell them no.
Yeah.
We won't meet in a private space, because I don't want to bring public issues into anybody's private space. So we've been meeting. We met in a shared space, and that would rent. It was an old church, and they rented it out to any spiritual groups that wanted to meet there. And we built a whole outdoor ritual circle there and everything.
Oh, nice.
And the guy who owned it decided to move out of the area and sell it. Roughly, well, he told us about October of 2019. It became public knowledge, and then we got our notice to leave January of 2020. We got evicted we could sell it. And then, we spent a month scampering around trying to find places, and then COVID shut everything down.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
we had to go fully online, which is okay because I wanted to have virtual access from the beginning, because I have friends and family who are homebound or nearly so, who have severe disabilities, accessibility issues. So I always wanted to have an online option, and COVID made me do it.
Yeah.
And so we flipped, we went straight online. And when we started meeting again in person, we kept all of the public stuff hybrid. So everything that we do has online access as far as public events.
And that's been a really, again, the school, and I'm going to put this because we keep talking about the school. I want to get the Wiccan Seminary, Seminary.edu, right? Am I right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Because we're going to talk about it.
We have been talking
about it.
And we actually grew during COVID.
Yeah. Well, our online presence, that's what we did. And again, Wiccan Seminary was it was online school. And so we learned all the online nuances and how to advertise and how to get people. So when pandemic hit, and even I think, was it a little bit before, we were doing Threads of Wisdom online.
We were doing Threads of Wisdom.
But when we've moved over to Discord, and we have a very wonderful online community on Discord in our servers that has proven to be so important, and
it's been beneficial for us for being people both locally and at large.
Yeah, and we provide a space for people, like you said. There's disabled people, there's people that just can't find a group.
Mobility challenge, whether it's physical or vehicular.
Yeah, whatever it is, or there's just not a group near them.
Mm-hmm.
So they come to we do daily devotionals on our Discord. We do our weekly Threads of Wisdom, which we have revamped, and now we call it Seeker's Path. It's completely different from Threads of Wisdom.
Yeah, we should talk about that because we did the same thing.
Yeah, we're we've revamped it. We just the graphics we weren't happy with, and some of the topics. So we have a local artist that is contributing their artwork for our graphics.
This is the first year it, because the previous one, the Threads of Wisdom, is 30 years old.
It's a lot. Is it 30?
It's about 30 years old.
I didn't realize it was that old. Yeah,
it's pretty old.
30 to 40 years old, and Wicca is in a much different place now than it was back then, and we we needed to bring it into the forefront and to where we're at now.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, into the forefront now, you go by the title of Priestx.
Yes.
Can we talk about this?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about.
That was a big chunk of the problems that we had with Threads Wisdom.
Yeah, there you go. But before we talk about that, I just want to say that the online, we learned that at the seminary. And I know there's a lot of people that are like, online is good, but I like in person. We all do. Like, absolutely. But there is such a need for online. Such a need. And so I get just as much joy and connection with what we're doing every week. So Priestx, that is a title that I just learned about maybe a couple years ago. And that is another evolving of Wicca. Would you like to tell us about your personal preference, why you prefer being called Priestx, why you prefer, if you don't mind talking about the title of Lord, and how that works into the evolution of where Wicca is going and all that fun stuff?
So, yeah, I'm non-binary, but I'm also 46 years old. And so my coming out of my egg has kind of gone along with general society trends because I like I said, I grew up in central rural Texas in the middle of the satanic panic. Things like bisexual wasn't even in my vocabulary.
Oh, right.
So it's been relatively recent. And I started out using priestess. But my first high priest and priestess actually she would often use the title of priest rather than priestess. And she was trying to figure out how to negotiate that language and stuff 10 years ago. And the Priestx, I'm trying to remember if it was, I want to say it was a couple of years ago when I had that one person in class. I think she brought it up, and then we managed to work it into Beltane last year, where we first updated the Beltane ritual to actually have 3 splits instead of 2.
Oh wow!
Nice.
Yeah, and
so that was for the projective energy, the receptive, and the what?
And the in between.
The in between. I like that.
And so that's now a permanent feature of our seminary Beltane ritual. So that was part of it, watching the seminary students continue to push at it, because I'd never felt comfortable with the Beltane ritual because of that split and not really wanting to go in either direction.
Right.
And so I got comfortable with the title of Priestx. And when I knew it was going to be elevated to 3rd, there was that whole title thing. And I knew lady didn't fit. Did not fit at all. But I wasn't sure if I should pick Lord. And I kept looking. I spent months and months looking for non-binary alternatives to Lord and Lady, and there's just not a lot of good ones.
I was going to say, is there?
Well, the time frame when Lord and Lady was placed, it was very gender specific. There was no androgyny, or there was no
gender fluid.
Fluidity.
Fluidity. Yes.
Yeah, it was very defined. You're this.
You are this. A lord, or you're a lady.
Yes, and so with the modernity of times and terminology, we have to come up with these new terms.
Yeah.
Well, and I didn't feel comfortable just inventing a term, because it's just 10,000 times harder for people to adopt it when you do that.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel comfortable with anything I was finding. And shortly before my elevation, so I was getting desperate, I ran across some information about how titles were used in England, which is obviously where the Lord and Lady come from. And they have the House of Lords over there, one of the Houses of Parliament. And it is actually acceptable. And I found a couple of instances where somebody who would normally have been called Lady took the title of Lord when she was, I don't forget the word, elevated, added to the House of Lords, whatever, when she moved up. Joined the peerage, maybe that's the term.
Yeah, right.
And so Lord is considered to be all-inclusive. And there are some women and non-binary people in the House of Lords who use the title Lord. So I decided to go with that.
I love that. And it is, Lord is kind of inclusive.
It is.
Yeah.
And there is a strength that is portrayed with the word Lord compared to Lady, and a respective nature. And that's just the history of times, because obviously they were of equal rank, so to speak, but it was that male projective dominated society. So Lord was the boss and Lady was the subservient. And I'm very impressed with you taking the mantle of Lord and saying, fuck that, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. This is me. And it was awesome because I actually got to see you the day after you got your 3rd degree.
When was that?
It was when I was in Seattle for training. And I went up to the tab, and Solinox had been elevated the night before to their 3rd degree. And I got to see them the next day. And it was actually the first time me and Lord Solinox got to speak one-on-one. Like, we run each other at festivals and other things, but never got to have any one-on-one time.
Yeah.
So I was very excited to actually get to see someone and get to talk to them after they got to experience their elevation, and seeing you were worn the F out afterwards. The next day you were wiped.
Yeah.
It happens. It happens. Well, I love that. And we talk about the evolution of Wicca, and there's a part of me for a while that was resistant to it, not because I don't think it's important, but because I come from an old school thought of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's probably the Capricorn in me. I always blame my sun sign. It's Capricorn. So
I think there's an element of experience in there too, and I see this in a lot of other areas. Blindness, obviously, queer inclusion, all of this stuff, and it's that it doesn't seem broken if it works for you.
Absolutely.
And
Exactly.
for somebody who is cis, especially somebody who is cis het, there's no problem with Lord, lady, male, female, masculine, projective, because you fit in that.
Yep.
It's for those that don't fit that see the
Yeah.
problem.
Exactly. And I think, we have teenage boys that are experimenting with their identity, gendered identity, their sexual identity, and so we get to experience it firsthand by kind of seeing it through their eyes. So that I've always been compassionate to that. There, I've never been like, I'm not a Republican. Oh, did I say that? So, but sorry, I don't want to mix politics.
I think you got clink and drink for that one.
Clink and drink.
We're trying to keep parts off here, but this one.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. But I'm 50, and I come from a generation where it was, you had gay, straight, bisexual, you had drag queens, and then and transgender wasn't even.
That wasn't a term.
That wasn't a term. It was just like
term back then.
We had a very
it's
different.
A dead term we won't use anymore.
We won't use anymore, but that was what we used, and that was just what And so I've always been compassionate. I've always been an ally, and I just owe a lot to learning from a younger generation. Mm-hmm. I also owe a lot to our children. Mm-hmm. And I also realize that if you're not evolving, you're stagnant, you're dying. And that is not what we are about.
Well, it's move forward or get left behind.
Yep, move forward. So I appreciate it.
When you die.
Yeah, right. So I want to talk. Okay, so we got to get to those.
Yeah, all the things surrounding you that
the crystals.
Oh, I hear my credit going ching, 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 ching.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put your store. What is the name of your store?
Keys to Manifestation.
And tell us about how this started. Now, was this specifically started as a space to have, because do you have your coven gatherings there? So was that, so you basically are doing
dual purpose, or was it intended as one and the other? Well,
before you answer that, I want to say, this is what we have been trying to do in this freaking town forever. The space you have is the ideal, like what I have been part of many committees in this town trying to start what you are about to explain. A place, it's a metaphysical shop, and it's a place that you can have sabbats and espits and all the witchy space that we need. So please tell me how this came about, and then we're going to talk about crystals.
Yay!
So it really just started when we learned the owner was going to sell that property. We were trying to figure out a way to keep it. We wanted to. All the other groups were bailing, and we were like, "Can we just buy this from you?" And then starting to figure out, okay, how could we go about making the payments? And the guy had, a few things here. There's a few rocks on this shelf. There's a little bit of incense over there. There's some candles over there that you could buy while you were in the space. And sometimes people coming to our events would, and we just leave cash somewhere for the owner. And that was the first time I had the idea. It's like, well, I mean, there's stuff in here for sale. What if we just had somebody here all the time, put some more stuff in here, and then, they'd be here to supervise if somebody was using the space, and that would help bring in money to pay for it. And so when it happened so fast. It really did, because we found out we were losing the space. We started to gear up to try and raise a down payment, and then he kicked us out. And then we had COVID, and it was, that's all she wrote. But as soon as COVID started to lift just a little bit, we started trying to look at different properties around town. with the idea of recreating that kind of space where we could share the space with other groups in the area and such.
Yeah.
And so this space came available, and it's part of why I was able to do this was because this space came available. This was a privately owned building owned by one of the current tenants here. And the rent was incredibly reasonable for around here, like maybe half of what I was seeing elsewhere.
Oh, amazing.
And it had just been renovated because a friend of mine had a dream of opening a yoga studio. And she fulfilled her dream and opened her doors in November of 2019.
Oh.
And so by last April, she was done. And she couldn't afford to keep the place open anymore. But she had put down this lovely flooring and redone the walls and the ceiling and the lights and everything. And I went to her and I said, would it bother you if we moved into this space? And she said, no, I would love it. And she cleaned it and blessed it for us, left us a circle of chairs when we came in.
What a great human.
Yeah.
And it worked out. We've got 1,000 square feet here. And so all of these shelves behind me are on wheels. And so when it's just store time, they're out on the floor. When it's time for church and ritual stuff, we can either push them back like this, which is what we do on Wednesday nights when we're just having discussions, or we can push them completely into my reader Reiki area in the back and have the floor clear. And I have the store set up by elemental correspondences. So there's permanent altars with merch on them. And so once we move those shelves, we could do a ritual right there because we have altars set up. And then in the back corner, there's a whole section for the Pagans in Need food pantry.
That's right.
As well.
And we've had Bill on in the past. And Bill's one of your students, isn't he?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
We had him on a previous episode with Pagans in Need. What an amazing foundation. Look into it, guys. If you ever need help with it, we can get you the information, and you can set up a chapter locally in your community. We can get you in touch with Bill. So,
what is there a website on that?
Yep, I believe it's pagansinneed.org. Maybe .com.
It's pagansinneed.org.
.org.
I remember that from our episode with Bill.
And I just want an excuse to scroll things on the bottom of the screen.
We like our new tools.
to be honest, I'll just scroll whatever. Like seriously, I'm at that point right now.
But yeah,
the wine is good.
And so, explain what Pagans in Need is one more time, just as a quick little.
It's a food pantry for anybody who's hungry. We call it Pagans in Need because pagans are the ones who get turned away by a lot of the other food pantries, food kitchens, whatever have you. But we won't turn anybody away.
Yeah,
we don't have a statement of faith to come in, restrictions or anything like that. Anybody who needs food can come in and get it. And we have regular pantry hours twice a month, but if somebody needs food outside those hours, then call Castle and he'll come meet them up here. Or if he's not available, I will let them in the door and go pull stuff for them and make sure they're taken care of. Everybody eats is what it used to be called. So that's kind of the guiding theme. May you never hunger.
May you never hunger.
Yep.
Absolutely. So let's talk about, hold on here. I'm having fun with the banners.
New tools.
I know. Will we watch? Thank you for being our guinea pig, by the way, Solinox, because
we appreciate it with the new technology upgrades. We're trying to bring Witches and Wine a little more techy, a little more refined.
So let's clink and drink.
Technologically refined.
Clink and drink, everybody. Damn, this wine is good.
Yeah, Mercureys are wonderful.
All right, so I want to talk about crystals. We are, oh my God, like we will fill this hour. Like I knew we would once we get, I was like.
Once the bug got rolling.
It usually does. Crystals. Okay, so the other day I messaged Solinox and I'm like, yes, please bring crystals because you're the crystal queen or queen of crystals. And they were like, queen of, and I'm like, please, like, don't even, what is that?
It is a citrine.
Oh,
that's a beautiful
favorite.
piece.
That is gorgeous.
Isn't it?
Oh my.
I'm going to start out by saying that all of the crystals that I brought out here, except for a couple of tumbles, are part of a collection that literally just came in, I think, a week ago, a little over a week ago. from a couple of ladies, and I listed them on my site as stones for wheels. These two women are, one of them is a wheelchair user and is trying to get a new chair. She really, really needs a new chair. And the other one has cancer and needs help paying for her treatments. And these are from a collection left behind, I think, when one of them, their husband died, somebody died and left all of these. And so they brought in a handful for me to put out on the floor price. And a few of them have moved. But these crystals that I'm going to show, all of the proceeds from these go to help pay for the medical bills for these two ladies.
Oh my God.
And are they able to order them online at your website?
Yes. Everything in our store, except a few glass pipes over there, is available on our website. So
Awesome. And as you can see, everybody, we have it scrolling on the bottom because I'm having fun with the banners scrolling. Can you see it too, Solinox?
Yes, yeah.
Good. Yes.
I think what I can see is what everybody sees.
Yep.
Yeah, good.
Our audience, are you guys able to see this? Please put it in the chat. We want to make sure everything's working right.
Nim, our lovely friend, said they will be able to see this. So,
Perfect. But
but if anyone has any questions about crystals, because I want to talk about crystals, and we're going to talk about like what we can use them for. And so I was in a class with Solinox. It was a graduate class, and it was an amazing class, and we had such a good time because every time we were in class, Solinox was attending from the store. So if there was a particular crystal we were talking about, and some of us were like, I don't have that crystal or that crystal, Solinox would leave the screen, like, and we knew it was like, oh, there she goes, she's grabbing the crystal, and then she'd come back.
There's a BRB coming right now,
and just be like holding this crystal, and we're like, yes. So how long have you been studying crystals, attracted to crystals, working with them? How long has this been for you? Probably
about as long as I've been Wiccan, because I mean, even before I started formal training, I had a collection, and I had jewelry that this was the first piece of jewelry that I charged with anything. I put a protection spell on this when I went to college. So, yeah.
Yeah, crystals seem to be the gateway drug to Wicca.
It's not the one.
Do you have a favorite crystal?
That's like asking, who's your favorite kid?
Well, we all know who the favorite kid is.
Well, we all know who the favorite kid is.
We all have one. We just don't admit it.
Malachite's fun. Or not malachite. What is this? Moldavite.
Okay.
Moldavite's fun.
Nice.
Yeah, I only have little bitty pieces here. But even so, this little piece that's like, size of my fingertip, retailed for $150.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. There's some expensive shit out there. Yeah.
But I can tell you my favorite discovery since opening the store, and I actually found this out while taking that class as part of the experiments that we were doing. I have this combo now that I offer to my customers. I call it Crystal Xanax.
Crystal Xanax, and what is that?
It is larvikite, which is a type of black labradorite that is mined primarily out of a single find in Larvik, Norway.
Cool.
And lepidolite.
Ooh.
And if you wear them together, it works just like taking an Ativan, at least for me.
Oh, nice. I love that.
And I've had a number of customers come in with stress and anxiety, and I recommend this to them. And they put it in their hand and immediately start to feel better. And they're like, yes, I'm buying these. How much?
and what are they looking at cost wise for something like that?
I want to say the combo's like $15. Let me see. $7 plus. Yeah, I'm right back there.
This is what,
a quarter. 11 and a quarter for the combo.
Oh.
11 and a quarter. So very reasonably priced for a good stone.
Yeah. That's amazing. So I have some questions because I've been into crystals longer than I knew I was a witch. Like crystals were the first thing that just like I collected, and as a teenager I was like crystals all the way. So can you tell us like what are some of the what is the good like basic
get you started
crystals that every witch, if we have some new people watching, which they'll be watching the recording later. The crystals for noobs. What is the basic kit of crystals?
If you wanted a basic kit, I would say clear quartz, red jasper, carnelian, citrine,
Yes.
malachite, lapis,
Mhm.
or sodalite, either one, amethyst,
Uh,
and celestite. That
Okay.
will hit all 7 chakras, plus quartz is your energizer and catalyst.
Yeah.
And you can, just with those 8 stones, with different combinations, accomplish just about anything that you want to.
I love that. That's amazing. And do you do? Let's clink and drink to the basics.
Clink and drink
There.
the crystals and,
Crystals
and your
and-
basis.
Yeah. I'm really enjoying this wine.
It's amazing.
It's so good. You're gonna start to notice a little.
We're a little looser lipped than we
I'm a
started
little
with.
looser lipped. So and
Yep.
Solinox is like, I'm pouring more
And
wine.
I was going to add a little point about the wine you're pouring. Being that's from Virginia, Virginia is the top producing region on the East Coast for wine. So if you want an East Coast wine, Virginia's make the best of them.
This is why I married him. No, well, I mean, there's other reasons too. He has a really, really big heart.
Yes, okay.
Some say it's broad.
All right. So more crystal. If anyone watching right now, we have 7 viewers.
I know.
If you guys want to ask anything about crystals, start typing it into chat. Like if you have like for healing questions. So, do you have anything you want to ask about
Oh
crystals?
no!
Because I
I could ask crystal questions for days because we
ask the
have
question.
we have a large assortment of crystals. Nothing like Solinox by no means.
No.
We're not even going to try to compare the.
Well, I mean, this isn't a personal collection, though. This is a working store collection. So.
No, understandable, but you still get to work with the energies and have them around you. So that
Yeah.
I can go pull a stone off the shelf anytime I want to if I need to do something, and then toss it back on some selenite when I'm done.
Let me ask you a question. Like, here's one for me. My favorite stone is a watermelon tourmaline. It is life goal to own one. Don't have one yet. That is on my.
Do you have a watermelon
I
tourmaline?
do not. I have not seen that one come up from any of my suppliers yet.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
It's a nice one.
Yeah, that's one that I just want to have because the coloration on it is so beautiful, and getting to see the different aspects of the same stone and how you can get all the energies that the different colors offer you in one is something that I've always wanted. And I've seen the price point for them, so that's why we don't have one yet. But it is definitely on the must-buy list for us.
Well, I do try to keep my prices low, so if I get one.
What is your thoughts on birthstones? Because do you know a lot about birthstones? Do you know a lot about how they were?
I would be more inclined to go with stones that align with your zodiac. And we've both been through the program, and we know that the sun sign that everybody goes with normally is just scratching the surface. The whole birthstones thing, January 5th, February is this. You find so many different lists. I don't give it a lot of credence. I'd rather stick with the zodiac. It makes more sense.
Yeah, it does. Well, for me, for January, it's garnet, right? Yeah. And so my birthstone is garnet, which as a Capricorn, it kind of fits. But January isn't all Capricorn.
Yeah. No, there's that's Aquarius.
Yeah, it's Aquarius too. So it fits for me as a Capricorn because garnet's very grounding. It's very, so, but yeah, that's a good piece of information. Rather than go with your month, go with your zodiac. Yeah. So how long has your store been
up and running?
15 months as of this week. Yeah.
And
congratulations.
We'll
start there because it's amazing to have a business still running through everything that we've been through these last couple of years.
We opened during COVID, and we've just been on a good upward trajectory.
I was going to say, so business has been really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. So that's amazing.
We focus. I run the store with the same kind of principles that I run the Coven. And it's acceptance and inclusion and helping people better themselves, not trying to please everybody, not trying to force people into a mold. but trying to facilitate others' work and growth. And I can't really, if I try to pick you up and show you the entrance, the camera's going to fall off and everything.
Yeah,
No worries. We don't want that.
When you come in the front doors over here, the first thing you see is half a dozen pride flags, both hanging up on the ceiling and draped over the table that's at the entrance. And along with artwork that features people of different skin colors. I had one woman come in and say, "Oh my gosh, I know I belong here because you have art that looks like me."
Yeah.
People walk in the door and they say, I can see tension melting off of them when they come in.
That's awesome.
To find a place where they can just be.
Oh my gosh.
And we encourage people to hang out. You know, we have people who will come in and do their homework or come in and just soak up the vibes for a few minutes before they go to work for the day. I love that. I definitely encourage people, because what we want to have once we get our full temple built and move is for it to be a community center, not just a store and just a church, but a place for fellowship, a third space.
And that's our coven goals as well, is we want a coven stead where people can just come and be pagan.
Yeah, just be yourself.
That communal concept of you have a skill or a talent to offer, share it with the community, because you're going to provide something that others don't have. And
everybody has something to offer.
Yep.
And so it's interesting you say that, because we have some metaphysical stores, not a whole lot here in Spokane, but we have a big one that people go to, and I won't say their name because I don't want to badmouth them. And they do have some great crystals.
Yeah.
But but there's something about the energy in there, and I don't know what it is, but when I walk in there,
it's a little capitalist compared to what a crystal shop energy should be, which is just going with the vibes. It very much strikes me as a little more consumerism.
Well, and it's very chaotic energy, and I don't think that they are crystal. They have a lot of crystals, but they have a lot of other stuff too, which I know you do too in your store. But they're not crystal experts. They don't really know a whole lot about what they're selling. Mm-hmm. So when you said that you have permanent altars in the directions, like you've got some feng shui going on, right? Because you know how energy works. These people they're not Wiccan, they're not pagan, they're not. I think they're of the new age, which that's fine.
There's nothing wrong with that. You know what? The new age has brought a lot of people over to the craft.
Yeah. Because
it was a gateway and introduction that was a little safer without the religion concept.
But like you said, it's more consumerism. And so the way they have the store set up, the way and I'm not the only one that feels this way. When people walk in, it's almost like the energy is so overwhelming that you just like, I need to just buy what I need and get the hell out. There's not a welcoming energy. And that is the main goal, I think, of any, not just metaphysical store, but a community place for gathering. So I really appreciate that you have created that, and that takes a lot of work and a lot of devotion to set that up. So I appreciate what you're doing.
And if we ever go on a road trip and out there, we'll have to swing through and say hello.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
And we'll drink wine in your store.
Yes.
and I'll get to look at all the crystals. And
just on the right Saturday, you can drink wine and do inebriated insights with us.
Oh well, absolutely. Absolutely. So we are coming up to an hour. Oh my God, time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
I've got your websites. Can you repeat them again, just in case, your store and your Coven website?
You can see
the store is Keys to Manifestation, and that's the manifestlansing.com. That's down there right now. And the church is weaversoftheweb.org. And it is a church, not just a coven. And I'm very particular about using that language, because even saying things like inner court and outer court implies an obligation towards training. And I don't expect anybody who comes to my events to enter training. I'm here to facilitate an experience for people so that they don't have to be alone.
Yeah.
And that's why I call it a church, because it is open to the public.
Well,
Yeah.
I was just working on a flyer prior to this. We have a Northwest Pagan Fest coming up this weekend here in Spokane.
Awesome.
The first of its kind in this area, that we're very much looking forward to. And with it, I was building a flyer for our coven, because I'm going to be working the information desk. Lola will be doing tarot readings, some other stuff with the community. And I actually put, instead of Wiccan Coven, I put Wiccan Church, because we don't just offer coven services. We offer more than that to the community at large, even if they're not part of our coven.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate you commenting on the difference between a coven and a church, because
And the coven is just a small part, but we aren't as spread out yet, but that is our goal. That is our goal, is to be like, look, there's the coven, but that's just a small part. We are a church.
Mhm.
And on our 501c3, we are Children of the Crossroads Church of the Old Ways. And
Yes.
so we want to be recognized, and we are recognized as a church.
Because
so
it's not just our group. It's those who want to be spiritually aware in the Wiccan craft.
yeah.
Even if they're not maybe practitioners, they want to be supportive or understanding of it. We're here to help. And it sounds like you're doing the same thing, which is awesome.
She's way ahead what we're trying to do.
But I'm saying in the same craft of just not being exclusive to just the people that are dedicated to you, but your community at large.
Think and drink.
Drink and drink.
Oh my goodness, this wine is dangerous. All right. Well, thank you so much, Solinox, for being on our show for our episode 101.
The return to
The return of this.
The return of the great Lola and Silenus.
Yes.
I hope everyone missed us as much as we missed ourselves. That doesn't even make sense.
You missed yourself? Have you found yourself? Have you spoken to yourself lately?
Daily. It's
Yes.
how I know I still have this one friend.
I'm my best friend. So thank you so much. And so if any of you watching this broadcast or this recording, because it will be recorded and played later, are interested in what our coven does, you're like, oh, I want to be a guest on your show, I want to know more about what you do, you can email us at
crossroadscoven@gmail.com.
I'm sorry, what was that again?
On the bottom of the screen, you'll see it. It's crossroadscoven@gmail.com.
So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Solinox, for being our first guest back after a long hiatus. We appreciate everything you do. We are such big supporters. And remember, everyone, please be kind to one another and always walk with the goddess. And until next time, blessed be. We'll see you later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.